in the conversation as well. It's just so it's not one way conversation. It's everybody communicating. And how are you going to communicate best with me? First of all, if you can turn on your camera, that would be amazing because so that I don't feel like I'm talking to a screen. Secondly, if you can maybe share where you're coming from in the chat so that I can have some interactions with you along the way during this next 1 hour. Okay, so I'm going to be sharing some of my experience through a presentation, of course. But if you have also question, please also add it into the chat. And hopefully, Eric, if you can be so kind to monitor the questions coming into the chat, because I wouldn't be able to see that all the time. And then at the end of the presentation, I would love to leave maybe 10 minutes or 15 minutes that we can go through the question and just have two-way conversation with everybody, if that's okay. Yeah, excellent. All right. So, everyone, if you're here, love to see your faces. Hi, Samuel. Hi, Eric. And yeah, there are like 12 of us here. Hi, Yo. Hi, Sandra. Yeah, so good. So it's a small group, and that means you're going to have a lot of opportunity to ask questions as well. I'm going to just do a little start by in sharing my screen. Oh, I wonder, Eric, is this would be able to be recorded if
Yeah.
that's okay?
Yes, the session is actually being recorded.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. Right. I am going to share screen and I'm going to put myself. And there we go. And let me know if everyone can see my screen.
Perfect for my
Can you
side.
see my screen? Perfect. Excellent. That's what I would love to hear. Okay, so my name is Jacqueline. I've been in the design world for more than 15 years. I basically just stopped at 15 years because it's starting to sound too old. And so basically, I started as a branding designer. So I was basically born and bred designer, if you will. Graphic design, textile design, brand design, product, actual physical product design. And then maybe 10, 12, 13 years now, been 13 years, then I have been transitioned into UX design and then product design. And it's absolutely my first love and it's never gone away, but it has evolved many, many years. 5 years ago, I started to teach UX design at General Assembly, but I feel like there's a massive gap in the education. Why? Because I just literally before this workshop, I did a little research on all of the schools, online schools that teach UX, and they call it UX and UI. Yeah, everybody aware of that? They they call it UX and UI design. Now, my biggest thing about this is product design is more than UX and UI design. It drives me crazy when people call it UX and UI design. Because product design is basically you have to have the thinking of business strategy into your skill set. You wouldn't be able to just do UX and you wouldn't be able to just do UI in order to master product design. Okay. So if we wanted to become product designer, which is now potentially 90% of the job advertised is product designer out there. No one is like it's very minimum type of job listings out there that's just hiring UX design, right? So there is a huge gap in this market, and that's why I am super excited but also enthusiastic about sharing business knowledge to product designers. And so this is what I do. Today, we only have a short session, so it would be crazy for everyone to think I'm going to deliver the entire knowledge base of product strategy in this one session. But I am going to share quite a few key areas that I would love to cover. And I hope that you, at least, if you can just take away one thing today, that would make me really happy. All right, well, look at off my glasses so I can see better. Now, okay, cool. Well, obviously, I'm also sharing my every single month. I'm participating in either one of these kind of like knowledge sessions, and in my own sessions, I also organize every month a knowledge sharing session. Either is interviewing some experts or a master class. So you can sign up on my website. Literally, it's just jacalin.com, and let's get started. All right. So hands up if you please type into the chat. If you are a designer right now and this it looks like what you do with your stakeholders, just produce this, design that. Okay, cool. I can see some hands up. This is a very common problem, guys. If you're in an environment like this, it's either number one, the stakeholder does not know how to work with designer because they're stuck in 10 years ago. And I do not blame them, right? We cannot just expect everybody to turn up and know exactly what we do. It is also our job to educate them. Now, a lot of the time, designers think of business and they fear of talking about business. It's completely out of their league, right? Their ideas constantly get blocked by stakeholders. Hey, what about this new idea? What about that new idea? And the stakeholder comes over and go, no, that's not going to work. And so over time, if many of these things happen, a lot of this no's comes to your way. This becomes demotivating for you as a designer, and it's just like really kills your mental creativity as well. What's worse, you ended up probably hate what you're doing, and that's absolutely like a toxic cycle that we don't want it to happen. So this is going to be what happened, right? Executive um, stakeholder will have the power to say yes or no, and but it's up to us to figure out different ways to win them over. Do you agree? So when there is a lack of clarity around your decision making, designers are likely to get frustrated. And but the thing is, we don't even know how decisions are being made. So where it comes falls short is that designers fail to communicate or connect to business value. It actually cheapens your design. If you just constantly talking about if you're constantly talking about design and design only, your impact is going to be very shallow. Now, your stakeholder, they're so busy. If you're working with in a small company, especially if you're working in a small company, their CEO, and you're dealing directly with marketing people, salespeople, they probably don't even have time to educate you. It's not their job to teach you, right? So now it's up to you. It's I always say designers, even though if your leader is not trained to be a design leader, if you're in a company that does not have a mature design culture, it is your job to keep your own career in track. So I'm glad that you're tuning in today. I'm glad that you're coming into these sessions. Now let's do a little interactive session. Let's do some self rating. How confident are you right now in connecting your design decisions to business outcomes? Rate 0 to 10. How confident are you right now? Great. 3, 8. 8 is pretty good, Samuel. Nana is pretty good. 7. Charlie is pretty good too. 6. Anyway, this is all really fantastic. And I would love you to just constantly reflecting on yourself with some sort of like scale. And as you learn, you're probably going to pick different nuggets from different courses or different material that you find everywhere and start to build your storytelling, start to build your knowledge base in order to translate your design. So this is what we're going to do today. 3 topics. One, I know it's going to be probably a little bit ambitious. This is just a little bit of a habit of myself. So if we don't have enough time, don't worry about it. I'm also going to constantly talk about these things on my LinkedIn and sharing articles, sharing podcasts on this topic as well. So don't worry about it. But today we're going to talk about the first number one is competitive advantage. Innovation is designer's superpower. Okay. So last year, we all know that InVision, we all use InVision before, have we? Yes.
Yeah.
InVision, yeah, right. InVision, the product announced that they're going to close the door, and guess why? Because they failed to innovate. They failed. They got behind. Everyone else just like moving on with where the industry is going, but they did not catch up. No one to blame, but innovation is a big question mark. Now I want to talk about 2 very commonly used strategy method and framework. it's North Star method. Another one is opportunity tree. Now, opportunity tree is one of the easiest one to get into strategy. So that's the one I want to focus on. If you wanted to make sure that you focus on one thing, I hope you focus on the opportunity tree today. Now, lastly, this is the juicy topic, is how to connect our design to this business success. Right, let's get started. So this is when I enter any conversation about any new project, I normally have a set of list of questions that I follow through as early as I can. Now, sometimes you work with like immature design culture or product culture, they come to you and go, hey, we want to create a landing page. And the landing page, we wanted to have this, and that, right? This is a common brief, comes from stakeholder doesn't know what designers do. That's okay. It's our job to educate them. So now this is the question I would ask. Okay, great. Thanks for this brief. Let's go back a little bit. I would love to find out more of your thinking. Can we please discuss who is this for? What is the problem that we're solving? Where will people use it? When will people use it? Why they will love it? Okay, now these are pretty typical UX questions, you think, right? Now, the one question UX people don't ask and not being mentioned in any UX course out there, I know because I have taught in General Assembly before, it drives me crazy. It's not in the curriculum. Is how does it contribute to the business? Hello, like if we are not contributing, if we don't understand what you deliver contribute to the business, and if your stakeholder cannot answer that question, then it's time for us to all learn to how to answer this question. It's both of your job, and please do not expect that your stakeholder knows everything. They don't, and that's why you're the designer. That's why you're the problem solver. Okay, so remember these are the standard list of questions you wanted to approach any single project. And then finally, how does it contribute to the business? The first topic is understanding the competitor strategy, business model, and future plan will always help us design better products. Now, let's imagine this is your product, and these are like some of the direct competitors, right? We all know competitive research, competitive analysis. But the designers is always looking at the landscape, not just the direct competitor, but indirect competitor, because sometimes you kind of be able to get a lot of inspiration from there. In my opinion, because I came from a very traditional design education, and I find there's a massive gap in today's designer skill set, is they don't think in concepts. They think in a cookie cutter way of working. But the best idea in the world are ideas that comes completely unrelated to your product. These are innovative ideas. That is how Steve Jobs came up with the iPhone in 13 years ago, right? Or 15 years ago. They're like, why don't we just make a phone that looks like a computer that can listen to music? Everyone's like, fuck, you're crazy. But guess what? This has become our normal now. This has completely changed the world. And so sometimes you have to, designers are not trained to ideate in that crazy mindset. But the designers from, if they came from like uni, from like very basic, learn from the basic conceptual level, we were encouraged to completely stretch that and think about crazy concepts that completely unrelated. So to me now, if you put me in any project, I can come up with crazy idea just like that. I can come up with 16 ideas in 2 hours, right? Now, this is the kind of skills we wanted to train ourselves to think, how do we win the competitors? Now, if you're gaining the innovative competitive advantage, this is where designer superpower is. And it's even more superpower if you can then connect to how this business is going to gain value from that innovation that you just came up with. Now let's get into it. If we don't connect the business outcome to design, it cheapens the design. Let's talk about this Apple computer in the 90s. Okay, I feel old now, but many of you guys probably have seen this, right? Or like maybe you were born when this thing was out there. Okay, we've seen this thing, and you've probably seen it. This is in the 90s. Okay, when it got into the market, when Steve Jobs pushed this into the market, this is the newsletter headline. Pay attention to these numbers. The first quarter sales is $800,000. Probably not much now, but it was a lot back then. This is the key number you need to look at. The key number. 50% first-time computer buyers bought this thing. Now, 50%, can you imagine how many people live in the world? How many people live in America? Let's just start with America. This statistic is literally life-changing for many, right? So when you connect your design to business outcomes, it creates magic. There's no surprise after this Macintosh, Apple decided to embrace its unique value, premium design, user experience, and its services. So what happens when Apple came up with this idea? Because they found what we call the blue ocean strategy. Today, I am not going to go in too deep into blue ocean strategy. I just want to shine light here. There's this thing called blue ocean strategy. And I wanted to train you to constantly think about whatever we create, is this the same with our competitors? Or is this completely different idea, but it ticks all of the boxes that it's going to generate money? So this is an example. For example, cable TV back then, before Netflix was a thing. Cable TV, price is high. You can only watch limited stuff, right? And UX is low. Now Netflix came in and go, we're going to do complete opposite. We want to do low price. We want to do live everything. We wanted to have so much different options, and we're going to have like real time watching experience. Now they are completely tapping into a blue ocean strategy. You don't just come up with this out of blue. You have to do a lot of research, and that's where our research skill comes in. So blue ocean strategy canvas is exactly where Apple become the industry leader in that landscape, while Intel and IBM is still doing very complex, like tech driven product. Apple comes in and go, we're going to remove all of that shit. We're going to do this completely different and test the market. So obviously they have done a lot of research, and then it doesn't just come out completely out of the blue. It's after lots of research, they test it slowly and launch it with an amazing marketing campaign. Okay, so blue ocean canvas is something that you can utilize if you're innovating some new product, and then put your competitive analysis into this mapping and see if your product is actually achieving what's new in this industry and also ticking the boxes for the customers. Okay, that's good. All right, so this is the first strategy framework. I wanted to see if any one of you, now, right now I can only see Io and Nana. You can put your hands up and I can see you, so that is fantastic. I'm like holding on to you too at the moment. Have you actually done the North Star metrics at wherever you work? Have you done it? No. Okay, that's fine. That's why we're here. And I was going to ask if anyone here actually knows what North Star metric is. And so, no, okay, excellent. That's fine. Any product manager can tell you metrics and data can be, very overwhelming. There is a lot of numbers out there to review. And a lot of the time, designers like product manager has it under their belt. But do they? I mean, come on. Between you and I, we all have worked with product managers that are more like project managers, right? So sometimes when this happens, again, don't expect everybody to be the complete expertise. You got to take this into your own hand and start to build the maturity from your own hand. So North Star metric is basically the single source of truth, single source of metric that completely shows your business is meeting the expectation of both your customer and your executives. I don't actually like this executives word, but I would replace this word with your business, with the business, right? So it's not about people. It's about how the business as a whole want to achieve. Okay, so and what happened? What's the value of it? If the North Star metric grow, the business grows. That is the magic of it. And I'll give you an example. This slide literally gives me goosebumps every single time I look at it. All of these companies I have listed here, you've recognized some of these logos, of course. They all have a very simple North Star metric. And this simple 5 word or one sentence or whatever metric drives the entire business. I'm not joking, the entire business. WhatsApp, North Star metric, number of sent messages. And you're like, well, hang on, what happened to user sign up? What happened to message that's received? Doesn't matter because the number of sent messages indicates how many people's in this app, how many people's using it, which is the user acquisition. And it also indicates what's the interaction between these different messages, right? Amazon, amount of purchases made per month. This is basically their business baseline. They sell stuff, but they don't own stuff. Spotify, this is my favorite, minutes of music listened every time. So every single team, they have thousands of employees, hundreds of teams in Spotify. We all love Spotify. Now, this is the single metric they follow. And this single metric guides the entire hundreds of teams to go, what can we do to improve this metric? Now, that means every single team, either it's marketing, sales, design, or QA or whatever, every single team is doing their supporting metric to contribute to this metric. That's how they do it, right? So now I must admit that not every single company is mature enough to know this thing. And I have worked with a lot of CEOs doesn't even know what North Star metric is. So it's okay. It's not their fault. Again, it's our job to slowly influence them. North Star metric directly impacts designers' outcome. How? This is the North Star metric in a very, very simple form. That's exactly how I explained it. North Star metric, different team has different input metric. Then from the input metric, you then figure out what are the metric that drives that input metric again. And all of this discussion has to be done as it's a team effort. If you are working with any leader or product managers that are coming up with the metrics silo in the vacuum, then it's an indication you're not in the mature product culture. Okay, so if I'm you in that culture, I would start to influence them. Hey, how do you feel about we exercise some North Star metric framework with our team? Because I feel like we're gonna make a lot better impact if our entire team can come along the journey and support this journey. Because every single time you have a metric that the team buys in, you're gonna create so much better work. That's just no brainer, right? So it's not about one person's effort, it's about everybody's effort. So this is usually what happens. A company North Star metric. Every single team maybe have, what does this stand for? One metric that matters, OMTM. One metric that matters. First 3 months, let's say Q1, 2024, our one metric that matters, OMTM, is increase user acquisition. That's all we're doing. Okay, we want to increase user acquisition. Great. Now, the next one, next 2 months, Q3, we wanted to increase conversion from user to paid user, right? So that's some example that you can implement if you're working at different team. And then every single team comes up with their little metric, but they need to be able to explain how this metric contribute to the North Star metric. Like that. It's all like a tree diagram. Again, I'm going to use Spotify as an example. Spotify, minutes of music listen. Okay, great. Input metric. Let's bring back users more often. This is growth. Okay, so what does that mean? Growth and retention. Every company, if you are producing product for customers, you always look at 2 departments of numbers. The first number is how we grow the business. Yeah. And the second number is how we keep the users in our business so they don't leave. Okay. So usually there's two separate group of teams. One is growth team and one is retention team. And the retention team can have like, hundreds of teams under that. And so it's the growth teams. Okay. And growth is also sales team, marketing team. These are all like different segments of it. Now the growth team goes, okay, we want to bring user back more often. And the retention team goes, now we're looking at existing user experience. Now in here, what we can contribute to make minutes of music listen is increase the time spent per session. So that would be their focus metric. And when they come up with this metric, they maybe have more metrics from each one of these. And then it's the team's decision to go in Q1, 3 months, we just want to focus on this one single metric. Yeah. Okay. So these are some examples. Bring users back more often. Now, input metric for this could be, how about the team sits together in a workshop and ideate? What kind of metric, what kind of idea do you have to bring user back often? At this time, try not to ideate with solution. It's not about that. It's about come up with a metric. Come up with a metric first before any solution. Bring back user back more often. Maybe we can increase the number of artists signed up. Okay, great. Maybe we can increase the number of musics, like listing of music being shared. That means if more artists signed up, we're going to have more music, then maybe the user will come back more often because they discover new things. Yeah. So you see, every story comes back together, but none of this is talking about solution. I'm not saying we're going to design this interface. Like, who cares? No one cares. This is this is the most important thing for the business. Okay. So don't talk about solutions now. Right. So I'm going to stop here for the North Star metric because I think this is enough information for you to take home and just do a little bit of exercise. If you can't apply this to your business, just do a little bit of exercise, just hypothetically, using some of this existing company, right? Maybe HubSpot, this is active teams per week. Do some research on the product and then start do a little bit of your own, North Star metric exercise and just get warm up with it before you join. When you join the company, next time you're like, hey, I understand North Star metric and I've done, if you've been hired to consult a company, then you'll be like, I think we can do a little bit of North Star metrics exercise. Book a 2 hours workshop with your team. And then in this 2 hours facilitation, make sure that everyone is coming together in the same place. That's how you're going to influence the company. The second strategic framework. This one is so useful. Opportunity tree. Okay. Opportunity tree. Okay. Before I do anything, has anyone done the opportunity tree before? No. Oh my God. Great. It's nothing wrong with that. But that makes me feel like I'm going to be adding value to your learning experience, which is fantastic. Okay. So opportunity tree. You may have heard of OKR. Yes. OKRs. Like maybe like this is the goal. Yeah, someone's thumbs up. This is the goal that we wanted to achieve. So OKR is actually based on a really old management tool from the 1970s. And it's not a sexy name. Nobody talks about it in the tech world until it's framed as OKR, which is opportunity key. I forgot the R. But anyway, if you search on Google, it's everywhere. Every company was used to be very OKR driven. But OKR you can come up with OKR with the opportunity tree model. What does it look like? Okay, so every single company, they often have a vision, right? If you're working in a company, again, when you join a company, make sure that you understand these things before you take on any project. I mean, it's better to ask more questions, so it kind of positions you as the expert. If you jump in and start designing, it's kind of like you're just a machine designing, like the very first slide, where you're just producing things, right? But if you're asking questions, you become a consultant. Yeah. So any company you join, you'll be like, what's the vision of this company? Every single company, CEOs or founder or management, they should all know by heart what's the vision of this company. If they cannot answer this question, big red flag. Now, the next question is, do we have a North Star metric? Now, I must admit, North Star metric is slightly more advanced Not every single company does this, and they don't understand this concept just yet. It's okay, but at least they need to answer this question: what's our annual goal this year? What are you trying to achieve this year? Now, if this annual goal is usually influenced by North Star metric, but if they don't have North Star metric, they may have an annual goal that's driven by money. Usually money, if you are working at a private company. Yeah, any private company, it's money driven. They have to earn money in order to survive, realistically. So annual goal might be we wanted to increase revenue by 10%. We want to, or at the startup, they might be no money earning just yet, just market share. So they may go, our annual goal is um, we want to increase sign-ups to our product. That's it. We're not earning money. We're just freemium at the moment for the half year, and we're just increasing users. Okay, great. That's our user goal. Now then figure out the team metrics for Q1. So Q1, excuse me, Q1, you may be going, so Q1, I just wanted to increase the market share by 5%, or not market share, increase the user acquisition by 5%. That's fine. What's our product goal? Now, when you come up with the product goal, usually the product goal is aligned to user experience, your research, right? So you've done a lot of research, and you understand by heart what your customer needs and wants. You go, okay, we want to help customers get the most value out of their link tree. Okay, I'm using the link tree. This is a product from Australia. It's I'm not sure, everyone probably, some of you probably know, but a lot of people use this link tree as their social media sort of connector point. So this is Linktree's product goal for 2023 Horizon 1. We want to help creators get the most value out of their link tree. Okay, great. Next slide is where the opportunity looks like. Don't get overwhelmed. I'm going to explain everything. Product goal, help creators get the most value out of their link tree. Now, from the product goal, you then come up with what is the jobs to be done. I'm pretty sure jobs to be done should be a familiar terminology for you. But if not, jobs to be done means what does the user need to do or want to do in order to achieve this goal. Yeah. So maybe the user goes, what does it mean to get most value out of their link tree? From your research, your user like, I want to set up my link tree profile very quickly. Okay, cool. Maybe let's define it under 3 minutes. It's a good metric. And these are the other metric. Maybe we're going to measure this by activation rate. And then we're going to also measure by pro conversion rate, affiliate revenue, and go-to-market value, etc. So you can then define your big product goal with some sort of metric. I'm not going to go through a lot of that metric, but in my pro class, which I'm going to run in July, it's a whole month thing. I'm going to have a detailed education section about how we learn different metrics that drives the business in order to connect to our designs. Okay, so you come up with different metrics to support this goal. The next thing you want to do from jobs to be done is each jobs to be done. Let's say there's 3 jobs to be done. You can see here, 1, 2, 3. Each jobs to be done, you come up with the opportunity and experiment. What does it look like? I'm going to zoom into this particular opportunity tree. This is a sort of linear format of an opportunity tree, but normally an opportunity tree looks like this. So you can do it on Miro. There's a bit more visual. Yeah. So, but if you work with other product manager, they might list it in a linear format. Product goal, help people get the most value out of their link tree. This is the jobs to be done for a user. I want to set up my link tree in less than 3 minutes. Fantastic. We have a measure. How do we measure? How do we support this measure? Activation rate, pro conversion, So how do we allow users to set up in 3 minutes? Everybody then ideates, what can we do? Or what does the user need to do in order to achieve that? So then your team might be coming up with ideas such as, okay, there's an opportunity. We want to help user. And in this case, they are phrasing it as me. So we're actually talking as the user. Help me get more jobs done with my link tree, second mile experience. And so maybe then everyone in the team goes like, based on this goal, based on this user's goal, we can do contextually recommend links and power ups. And we can then also launch another thing called the Linktree Academy, where we can educate them to get more things done. Okay, so that's an idea. So these two things underneath it, it's ideas that you can do to support this opportunity, and you can experiment on it. Second opportunity, help me understand my audience. I want to see analytics. Okay, cool. Link, we can then experiment link analytics and comparison. We can then experiment feature recommendation. See, we don't come to ideation until this point. This ideation isn't talking about just one idea. It's just talking about a goal, like a user goal, right? So then maybe you take one of these user experiment, like for example, this feature recommendation, and then you put it into an ideation session. So yeah, and then in that ideation session, you go, let's ideate all sorts of different visual representation. What does it look like if we wanted to recommend more features to our users? Then your designers and your stakeholder might come up with 15 different ideas. I don't know. But see, what we're doing here is we're going layers by layers. And then once we come to an experiment that the whole team decides they wanted to, this is the one that we're going to be focusing on, you then take it into that design stage. So that's how a strategy being planned out. How every single time, if a brief comes to your designer's table, they must be some sort of thinking behind it before it comes to your table. And these are some of the thinking process that's happening beforehand. Yeah. So if your company doesn't have this process, it's then your opportunity to bring this process into the company and go, we can sit together as a group and come up with opportunities that we can experiment. Okay, now once you have these opportunities, you can then decide what are the metrics. If you decide that once you're going to, for example, you're going to experiment this feature recommendation as the one to focus on, great. What are the metrics that's going to show you and the team you've done it good, you've done it right? Then you ideate, okay, the leading metric is we can measure how many people gone from free to paid, because nobody's going to pay unless they find value, right? So that means you are adding value by creating this thing. At the end of the day, it's all about paid conversion for a lot of companies anyway. But in order to do that, we must create value to their link tree, to their product. And then once you figure out which one to focus on, again, in a workshop scenario, I like to use a dot voting method. So dot voting is not open mic. Dot voting is silent. You have red dots on the side, everyone's silent, put one dot or two dots on two things that you think is the most valuable, lower hanging fruit, but driving the most value. And so then at that point, you have a very clear outcome of what to focus on. Yeah. And then you pick the most voted experiment to focus on for your Q1 or Q2 strategy. That's what's happening. And maybe one of them belongs to the growth team, and one of them belongs to the retention team. At that point, you can then separate the different teams for different tasks to focus. So that's how it works, like the tree diagram of it. All right. So I don't want to. This is probably really like good stuff that I think you can very much apply and start the conversation with your stakeholder now. I want to actually start asking questions. Have you guys contribute to some Q&A? Unfortunately, I don't think we're going to have a lot of time to walk through how we can connect the design to the business from the bottom up. So now this opportunity tree and what we did about the North Star metric, it's about top down, right? So we're thinking about what needs to be achieved on the top and then slowly analyze layer by layer down. Now, the next section I was going to share with you was like bottom up. Once you come up with the idea, how do you connect it back to the strategy. So we don't have time for that, I don't think, because that's going to take a lot of more, another half an hour. But I wanted to share with you how do you quantify your designs to make sure that you're kicking the goals for these metrics. And so one of the framework that I think is pretty common. So if you guys not using metrics to measure your designs, you've got to do it. You've got to do it from day one. Before you even start the job, you got to ask how do we measure success, and come up with different ways to measure success. This is a Google Heart framework for measuring success. And feel free to take a screenshot. But if you Google Heart framework, you should be able to come to some sort of articles about how to do this, right? It's about how to measure people's happiness, how much they engage with your product, if your product, your idea is being adopted, being used, how long it's being used, how frequent it's being used, and what's the success. So this is the qualitative things, a lot of them, qualitative and quantitative, about your design. And if you come up with some ideas, figure out, you don't have to tick every single box, of course, but come up with some sort of metric that you're going to measure your UX success. These are different methods you can utilize. If you're measuring happiness, you can use customer survey or NPS, for example. Engagement, you can look at Google Analytics, which is free for most companies. And if your company has budget, Full Story is a really good tool. Measure adoption rate. Again, Google Analytics is pretty good. ConvertKit, it's not free. Full Story is not free. So there's free version or non-free version. Retention, Google Analytics. Task success rate, Google Analytics, but not exactly. I think Full Story. And right now there's a new tool actually called Google. Oh my God, I can't remember out of the top of my head. It's so good. It's free. It's by Google as well. Google Insights or something. I can't remember, but I will share with you guys later if I find out. It's fantastic. Google has a lot of like free tools for you to measure already. So think about what you can utilize in your product and design to start measure. And once you do, you should be able to come up with some sort of statement to connect your design, right? So you can go, if we improve data tracking, or like if we improve user sign up experience, for example, so you can replace what you're going to do, then we will be able to reduce the error for the new users, and this will decrease friction on the app, which will increase trust. Now you see how I'm constructing this story with some sort of qualitative stuff with quantitative numbers in it, if you can, so that at the end you can improve the quality of service provided, and then will increase the revenue for new users. So you can then combine your design story, go, if we improve this, we then track, reduce the error. Once you reduce the error, decrease friction, often you increase trust. It's kind of like a sort of like a flow. So this is how you can then connect your design back to justify you have picked some sort of metric goals for these kind of experiments. Yeah. So every time when you ideate, you run this ideation workshop for this feature recommendation, the next topic you're going to talk about is how are we going to measure success? Then the whole team goes, we're going to measure success by sending out a survey, tracking Google Analytics. So this is all you got to do before you start doing any design. And once you do design, making sure that you are tracking these things. And once you track these things, you can then explain your design is ticking the boxes, and your design is actually trying to achieve a business goal, and it's not just some fluffy stuff. Right. I think there is a lot of content for you to go through today, but I want to re-emphasize is everyone, it's so important to develop business acumen to become a strategic designer, right? So of course, hard skills are important, because you can't be a designer if you don't have hard skills. But here's the questions. If you are starting a new role, I would ask, What are the business visions? What's the value you're trying to achieve for the world? What's your goals and mission this year? Who, what kind of department do we have in place to achieve these goals? What makes us different? So screenshot this if you will. But these are the questions that I would normally almost interview the new business or new clients. Don't just go in and design the work. It's not about the work. It's about you practicing being a expert. Yeah. If you're starting a new project, why this project? Why now? What are the goals for this project? How does this improve users' life? How is it aligned to our roadmap? What does success look like? How does this project contribute to business objectives? And what kind of tools is available to track success metric? What do we know now? Right. So maybe there is success metric existing already. There's already trackers. You can then measure what's now. Then you can then measure how you're going to improve this. Yeah. Cool. Okay, question time. I forgot to get to the question time earlier. But let's do questions.
All
Come on.
right, Jacqueline, thank you so much for this. I think we are into our Q&A session. I'll kick it off with one or two questions from my side, and I guess I would open it up for the community if there is or there are any questions. But again, I would want to say thank you
Yeah.
so much for the time and the knowledge shared. I guess myself, I picked up one or two things adding up to my toolkits of knowledge within the North Star and Opportunity Tree, and I must say I'm so intense and pumped up for this. So my question is that I mean, looking at the growth and retention area or slots you mentioned around the strategy, how would you say would be the best fit for when to include the cross-functional teams within the product strategy session?
The cost, like
No,
money.
the cross-functional teams within the product
Right.
strategy session.
Yes, that's usually at the beginning. So usually at the beginning of the year, every single team often get together to have a quarterly goal tracking, right? So every quarter, at the beginning of the quarter. So like right now we're in March, end of March. You should be talking about quarter 2 strategy already. At this point, your team should be already looking at some sort of strategy workshop together to figure out what you're going to achieve this year, this quarter, how you're going to measure it, and what kind of experiment that you're going to put in place to do this. And so once you do this one time, it becomes almost like it's just super easy to follow. Every quarter, let's say if your team is trying to ship one key feature per month, right? So then you can then have this quarter, we're going to achieve this North Star metric. Based on this North Star metric, we're going to have we've already decided 3 experiments that we're going to do this quarter. Every single month, we're going to roll out one experiment because you don't want to do 3 experiments at the same time. It gets too hard to track. Every month, we can roll out, or every 1 week we roll out, and then we just measure for 3 weeks or something. So this is what I would do. Every quarter you would do it. Then every month you do it, you're making sure that someone is responsible to track the performance of these things. Usually it's product manager and designers.
Right. Fantastic. I think one more question from me, and then I'll open it up. So yeah, again, you mentioned about one interesting, I mean, framework by myself. I'm getting to know OMTM, which is one metrics and one metrics that matter within the quarter framework you mentioned. And so, looking at it, when would you say is a good time to pause and relook if the strategy isn't working within the framework of OMTM? Yeah.
Yeah, so that one metric that matters is usually it's connected to the quarterly goal as well. So quarterly, you want to focus on this metric, and then so that is why I think every team don't just talk about this, make this visual. And once you make this visual, have this almost like a framework,
Right.
front and center. Every time you make a decision, you check again. Every time you make a decision, are we doing what we said we were going to do? And if we go all off track, then go ask why. If anyone suggests something else to do, then you come back to this North Star thing and go, this quarter, we said we want to achieve this thing, but is that initiative aligning to that? So the
Right.
team discuss again.
Right. So it means that even within the week or weeks after the strategy has been developed and it's probably not picking up, we can, I mean, rephrase things within the quarter, I believe.
Yeah, and I don't think it's that frequent if your team is tightly aligned. The only
Right.
time when that frequency becomes more frequent is when the people don't get on the same page.
Page.
Maybe it's only the three leaders talking about it, and then they didn't bring everyone along, and everyone is like, well, we didn't get involved in that communication, and
Right.
so they get sidetracked, right? So if
Mm.
you bring everybody together, everyone looks at this and know that this is the solid plan, then they're less likely to go off track.
Nice. Interesting. Thank you so much for the response, Jacqueline.
No
To the
problem.
community, the Q&A session is opened. If you have any questions, kindly unmute yourself and ask your
Yeah,
questions, or you can as well also input them in the comment section to be asked.
yeah. Clinton's asked, please connect with me on LinkedIn, of course.
Right.
But I also would say the last part, if you connect with me on LinkedIn or sign up to my website, I am going to have continuous masterclass here and there to talk about these kind of things, right? So every single month, I'm going to share some value. Every month, I also have a newsletter. I talk about one single topic, not necessarily about business acumen for designers, but about designers, how to excel in your job or how to balance your life and your job, that kind of thing. So yeah, is there any other questions from anyone? And if not, everybody, if you can, you know, share what's your biggest one takeaway today in the chat, that would be really fantastic. I think it's important to just like for all of us to really reflect. OMTM, awesome. Nice and simple. Excellent. Yeah, so thank you so much. I think the North Star metric, yeah, that's a really good one as well. And I think, guys, sometimes it's normal when you come back to your company and go, hey, let's do a North Star metric. You're gonna get a lot of like raising eyebrows, going, what the hell is that, right? Don't encourage. Not everybody is exciting, and not everybody likes change. So you have to practice your negotiation skills and your storytelling skills in order to get buy-in. So it's a one step at a time. Slowly share stories, slowly share success stories from other products. I always have a theory. Success has a trade. Find a trade and follow the trade, and you're probably halfway there, right? Blue Ocean Canvas is fantastic as well. And you can practice this yourself. Come up with like a new idea every weekend. Come up, just pick a product that you like, right? I love Notion. I'm going to pick Notion and go, what if I'm going to create a complete different product that for the same user for Notion, but just a little bit different to Notion using the Blue Ocean strategy as well. That's something that you could practice every single week. So fantastic. Before we conclude this session, we've only got 1 minute left. So I have obviously a really comprehensive product design career metrics that I have built over the years when I consult different companies and help them build. So I put all of these insights together. You can interact with it and use it as your own tracking metrics. You can download on my website. Obviously, I have a course on Maven. This is a live course. There's only 15, 20 people per cohort that I hold hand for 4 weeks to teach. This is it, to for hold hand for 4 weeks to teach business acumen and facilitation techniques, how to run workshops to get these kind of like different group alignments done. How do you tell stories to get buy-in? So there's frameworks that you can follow. And how do you actually keep track of your success, keep track of your impacts every single year to make sure that you get promotion and make sure you get to your final goal. And also during this course, there's unlimited one-on-one sessions as well. So yeah, if that's something interests anybody, otherwise, download this product design metrics in my on my website, and I'm also gonna involve you in the invitations every single time I run a free masterclass.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you so much for the closure.
No
I must say
worries.
this has been very insightful for the community. Myself, I've learned a ton of things that I'm going to take away. Thank you again so much, community, for making time to join us during this session. Keep track of our monthly webinars. We'll be having the next one the next month. So we are bringing the curtains down here to say thank you all. Thank you so much, Jacqueline. Again, like she mentioned, you can connect with her on LinkedIn and on her website for more insights into product design and anything product related. Thank you so much, and do have a good evening and a good morning, depending on where you are. Cheers, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Bye for now.